Welcome to Inside the Story. I'm Hannah Catherine Smith in for Peter Vicenzi. Today, we have Valerie Richardson, a reporter at the Washington Times, joining us to talk a little bit more about the parental rights bill out of Florida and the layers of backlash that has gotten. Valerie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Valerie, I first want to just give a little top-line summary for our audience who maybe isn't as familiar with what's going on in Florida as you are. Tell us a little bit more about what this parental rights bill does.
Right. Well, Governor Ron DeSantis signed it on Monday. He had a ceremony to do it. It was, something obviously he feels very strongly about. What it would do is it would say that in grades kindergarten through third, classroom instruction, teachers can't be instructing students about issues involving gender identity or sexuality. In other words, they specifically referring to some topics that I guess have been introduced in schools about transgenderism and other topics that they felt were just not appropriate for grades K through 3. But the bill was labeled the Don't Say Gay bill. I mean, if you've heard of this bill at all, what you've probably heard is Don't Say Gay.
Right.
Because critics were basically saying, oh, you're trying to get teachers to stop using the word gay and pretending that, gay people don't exist. That's been the big argument. His counter is, no, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to keep the material age appropriate. And, kindergartners or first graders shouldn't be sitting in the classrooms being subject to lessons on transgenderism. So,
absolutely. And I read your article that you actually just published on this topic, and it seems like Florida voters, even those that lean left, they agree with that. Is that correct?
Right. The polls show that when you tell voters what's in the bill, they support it. A majority does support it in Florida. Now, when you call it "Don't Say Gay," it's another story. But when you actually give them the material that's in there, then it does have support. The bill also says that schools have to be transparent with parents when it comes to what's going on in terms of the child and any potential, say, plans about that child, changing genders. We have seen instances in some schools where apparently the school will, a child will say, I'm transgender, I want to identify as a member of a different gender. And the school will help them, come up with a different name and put the name on their records and not tell the parents about it because they're afraid the parents will be, I guess, disapproving or something like that. And so the bill also says that schools have to be transparent on this kind of thing.
Now, the transgender issue has certainly been front and center stage recently, especially with the Leah Thomas situation, the transgender female swimmer that we've been hearing a lot about. And so now we're talking about Florida legislation, and there has been a tremendous amount of backlash to this. None other than Disney World actually leading the charge here. Tell us a little bit about what they have to say about this bill.
Yes, Disney came out with a statement the day the bill was signed on Monday saying that they were going to support groups that are trying to repeal this and get it overturned. And that was a very strong statement. Disney had previously said, that they opposed it, but to say that they would actually fight to have it repealed, it took it a step further. It raised the ante, certainly. And Governor DeSantis came back swinging. He was all over TV after that. He was having press conferences. He was saying, this California-based company can't tell Florida voters what we get to do, is how he framed his message. And yeah, it's kind of pitted Disney against DeSantis, you might say, on this issue. And then, I don't know if this was serendipitous or what, but the day after all this happened, Christopher Rufo, a Manhattan Institute senior fellow, released inside Zoom meetings of Disney executives talking about how they no longer use terms like boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen because those are gendered terms. They're really trying to use terms that are gender neutral instead, and how they're trying to make their characters they're trying to have more LGBTQ characters in their content as well, which really means television and movies. And that created another sort of media uproar. So Disney was kind of on the ropes, quite frankly, after this. They were getting it from all sides, but they haven't commented publicly on it so far. But they're also under a lot of pressure from, LGBTQ groups and some of their own employees to, advance and LGBTQ, priorities and policies. And and a lot of companies, they're not the only company that's kind of caught between these two pressures right now.
Mm-hmm. No, this is just conjecture on my part, but I'm sure the Walt Disney Company PR team is hard at work right now. In your reporting, have you heard from any parents that are using their wallets to say, no, we're not supporting Disney anymore? Or maybe those on the other side that are saying, wow, we love this move. What are you hearing from parents, especially that have a vested interest with younger children in the state of Florida?
Well, it like you say, the polls show that when people are told what's in the bill, they supported it. In terms of Disney people, I've just heard anecdotes, reports and things like that, and people posting on social media. But you're seeing people on both sides. It seems like a lot of parents are saying, I'm not going to go to Disney now, or I don't know about a lot, but some of the voices are saying they disagree with Disney on this kind of thing. Then you have the LGBTQ groups that are really supporting what Disney's doing in terms of, fighting this bill. So you've got voices on both sides. I mean, it's obviously an incredibly popular theme park, and, Disney is one of the world's most iconic brands. So we'll kind of see if this actually ends up hitting them in the wallet or not. But I think it is sort of, let's face it, I don't think Disney wants to have an image that is too, deep into politics. I don't think they want to be seen as necessarily a political actor here, but they are being seen that way. And, how they respond next is going to be interesting. They haven't released any statements since they came out with that one statement Monday.
Yeah, so that actually leads perfectly into my last and final question. At FreedomWorks, we have a program called BEST, Building Education for Students Together. And Laura Zork, the director of that department, as well as lots of other parents, are very much in the fight for parents' rights, especially in Florida. And so they're pretty concerned about people that find it an issue that other adults are teaching things like sex and gender to children as young as 5 to 7 or 8 years old. Do you think that a corporation like Walt Disney, or maybe another corporation, is going to have a big enough impact when it comes to these issues to start dictating what's going on in the public school system?
Disney is obviously, has a lot of influence, with families and children. I mean, it's a very popular brand, but having said that, I think the education issue right now is huge. That seems to be a huge driver. And I don't think that Ron DeSantis is being accused by Democrats of just you're trying to, prop up your election chances by, throwing red meat to your base, that kind of thing. But I also think it's true. What polls have shown is that voters are extremely concerned right now about education, the business with critical race theory, with, gender identity being taught in schools. That's huge right now. And I'm just not sure that, that parents are, and we saw the parents coming out last year to all the school board meetings and making their views known. I think that you have a real parental revolt going on right now. And I think people are leaving the school systems. The homeschooling movement is really growing right now. You're seeing more charter schools, you're seeing more private schools. I think I think we're having a real moment right here. And whether or not, Disney is going to have a lot of influence on that, I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think people are, I'm not really sure. It's not, to a certain extent, it's not really in their lane. I don't think people look to Disney when they're trying to figure out, well, what's the best choice for my child in terms of education. It's a popular brand, and people have a lot of love for Disney, especially, older people like myself who grew up with it. But I do think in this case, there's a movement going on, and I don't think that there's a whole lot that, that maybe any corporation can do to, sort of assuage these feelings.
Sure. Well, witnessing some of that movement just down the street in Virginia from where I am in this past election cycle where Governor Youngkin was elected was certainly incredible to watch. And so it's going to be interesting going into election season this year. Very, very interesting to see how that's going to grow.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Valerie, thank you so much for joining us today on Inside the Story. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much for having me.